Bank teller tosses, black CEOs, ID minutes. Later, a $7B deal disappears in silence. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. You dropped something, the teller said. Her tone clipped her smile sharp enough to cut glass. The ID card slid off the counter and hit the marble floor with a soft, deliberate snap. Every head in the lobby turned. For a moment, no one breathed. The woman who dropped it, or rather had it tossed at her, knelt slowly, the orange fabric of her dress folding neatly around her knees. She reached for the card without a word. The name embossed in silver letters caught the light. Mariah Ellis. The teller crossed her arms. "We don't serve your type," she said loud enough for the room to hear. Silence stretched like glass, ready to shatter. Two employees sitting on the waiting bench exchanged a quick, satisfied look. One smirked. The other whispered, "Fake ID, I bet." A man in a gray suit near the window shook his head but said nothing. No one ever does not at first. Mariah rose calm, precise, composed, and looked the teller straight in the eye. Her voice, when it came, was soft. "You sure you want to go with that assumption?" The teller blinked, thrown for just half a second, then leaned forward on the counter. "Lady, I've worked here 8 years. I know when someone's pretending to be important." Mariah smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She tucked the ID back into her wallet, slow, deliberate, as if every second was a test she'd already seen 100 times. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to Mariah. Her heels clicked once against the floor, sharp, certain. The manager glanced out from his glass office, confused by the tension, but not enough to intervene. Across the lobby, a junior banker lifted her phone, discreetly recording. She shouldn't have, but something about the scene demanded proof. Mariah placed her wallet on the counter again. Her tone was even almost kind. "All I asked," she said, "was to access my account." The teller exhaled through her nose, the kind of sigh reserved for people who believe power only looks one way. "Then go back to the regular line," she said. "This counter is for corporate clients." Mariah nodded slowly. "Good," she replied, "because that's exactly what I am." The teller frowned, uncertain. Behind her, the screen still flickered with waiting tickets and account numbers, one of them marked Ellis Holdings, pending transaction $7,000,000,000,000,000. But she didn't notice. Not yet. And when she finally would, it would already be too late. The bank lobby looked like a stage, marble floors, quiet air, and a silence so perfect it almost hurt. Behind the counter, monitors glowed with blue light, rows of numbers scrolling endlessly. No one realized those numbers were hers. Mariah Ellis didn't dress like power. She never had to. The fitted orange dress wasn't designer. Her curls weren't styled for approval. She had come alone with no assistant, no entourage, just purpose. This visit wasn't about withdrawing funds. It was a test. 3 weeks earlier, she'd sat in a boardroom overlooking downtown Chicago, signing the preliminary merger documents between her investment firm and Summit National Bank, a deal worth $7 billion. She'd told her executive team she wanted to see how their customer experience looked from the ground up. No VIP access, no security detail, just her name, her patience, and the truth. And now the truth was standing right in front of her, holding her ID with 2 fingers like it might stain her skin. The teller leaned on the counter. "Ma'am, if you're wasting my time, we can call security." Mariah's expression didn't change. "If I were you," she said quietly, "I'd wait before making that call." The manager, a man in a navy suit with the kind of confidence only ignorance can buy, walked out from his glass cubicle. "What's going on here?" The teller gestured toward Mariah. "Possible fraud. Fake corporate ID. She's insisting she's a client." He looked at Mariah the way people look at broken machines, with irritation, not concern. "Ma'am, we can't have random walk-ins claiming to be executives." She tilted her head slightly. Interesting choice of words, random walk-ins. The room had begun to listen now. A young mother paused at the kiosk. The junior banker with the phone lowered it slowly, still recording audio under the desk. Mariah placed her hands on the counter, calm and steady. Her tone softened, almost gentle, almost dangerous. "You said my ID was fake. Then run it." The manager hesitated, but pride made him move. He scanned the card. The screen blinked a pause, a flash, and then went red. "See," he said to the teller, half smug. "Invalid credentials." Mariah smiled faintly. "Of course it's invalid. You're using a local system." She turned her gaze toward the nearest security camera, knowing exactly where to look. Somewhere 2 floors up a data monitor was watching, and soon, very soon, that monitor would light up. The manager crossed his arms. "We're done here. Please leave." Mariah picked up her ID, slid it back into her wallet, and said softly, "You just made a very expensive mistake." He scoffed. "Oh, really? And what's that supposed to mean?" But Mariah didn't answer. She looked past him toward the frosted glass doors of the executive floor, where her signature already hung on 3 separate contracts waiting for approval. The clock above the teller's head read 9:17 a.m. In less than 15 minutes, a silent audit would begin, and this branch would never be the same again. The sound came first, a faint click as the manager locked her profile on his screen. Then came the look. That half-smirk people wear when they think they've confirmed their prejudice. "Fraud alert," he said to the teller loud enough for everyone to hear. A few heads turned. Someone whispered, "That lady's in trouble." Mariah didn't move. Behind her, the glass doors opened with a hiss as a security guard stepped in, tall, broad, bored. The manager pointed. "That's her." The guard nodded and adjusted his badge. "Ma'am, can I see some additional ID?" Mariah smiled, the kind of calm that doesn't bend, only waits. "You already have it," she said. "The problem isn't my ID. It's your assumption." The teller scoffed. "Oh, please. People like you always make it about something else." For a second, the guard hesitated, just a flicker of doubt, but it passed. He stood back, letting the manager take the lead. Mariah turned, slightly scanning the room. A teenage boy near the queue had lifted his phone, pretending to text. Recording. A woman in a gray blazer muttered. She didn't even raise her voice. Another man whispered back, "Doesn't need to. You can feel it." The air tightened. It was no longer just an argument at a counter. It was a performance unwilling and public. The manager leaned closer. "I'm giving you one last chance to walk out on your own." Mariah's eyes didn't blink. "One last chance," she repeated softly. Her voice carried across the lobby, calm but cold. "You don't know how many times I've heard that phrase." For a moment, her mind flashed back 20 years earlier. Her first commercial loan denied with the words, "Not our target client." Different faces. Same tone. Same quiet dismissal. She straightened her posture, folding her hands together. "I'll wait," she said. "Do what you think is right." The manager frowned. "You're making a scene." Mariah exhaled slowly. "No," she said. "You are." The junior banker, the one hiding the phone, finally spoke. "Sir, I can verify her name," he said, voice trembling. "Ellis Holdings is in the system." The manager spun toward him. "Stay out of this." The young man swallowed hard but didn't look away. She's not lying. For the first time, the lobby felt alive, eyes, phones, whispers, judgment shifting in real time. The teller snapped. "Security, remove her." The guard stepped forward, uncertain. "Do you want to file a report first? Just do it," the manager barked. Mariah lifted her hand, not in defense, but to stop him. "Be careful," she said evenly. "You're about to touch the wrong story." Her words hung there, still measured dangerous. The kind of sentence that finds silence and owns it. The guard hesitated. "Ma'am, please don't make this difficult." Mariah looked him in the eye. Difficult is when a $7 billion transaction disappears because you didn't recognize respect when it stood in front of you. The lobby froze. Phones stopped pretending. Every lens turned toward her now, and somewhere deep inside the building, an alert pinged Protocol 7 silent audit initiated. The storm had just begun. No shouting, no panic. Just silence, the kind that makes people realize they've already gone too far. Mariah Ellis stood still, her hands resting lightly on the marble counter as if she owned the air between them. The teller shifted first, her confidence cracking. The guard's hand hovered above his belt, waiting for a cue that wouldn't come. Mariah spoke softly, her tone, so even it felt like control itself. "Before you do anything else, you should know this branch is being monitored." The manager frowned. By who? Mariah's lips curved into the faintest smile. By everyone who thinks respect is optional. He didn't understand, not yet. But 2 floors up in the compliance department, a light on the audit board turned yellow. An automated flag had triggered from a top-level executive profile, Ellis Mariah, CEO, auth level detected. The system didn't ask questions. It just started recording. Down in the lobby, Mariah reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. The gesture was calm, almost unremarkable. She pressed one contact. "Rachel," she said, "confirm visibility." A crisp voice replied through the speaker. Confirmed, ma'am. We're seeing everything. Do you want me to proceed? The teller blinked. Who are you calling? Mariah didn't look up. An opportunity you just lost. The manager's irritation flared. You can't threaten staff, ma'am. This is a private institution. She lifted her gaze. Private, her tone sliced through the air like glass. You're about to learn what private really means. Rachel's voice echoed faintly from the phone. Audit feed active. Corporate Ethics Board notified. Timestamp logged at 9:22 a.m. The teller's hand trembled slightly as she tried to look busy typing into a terminal that suddenly froze. The cursor blinked red text flashing, Access. Revoked. Under investigation. A murmur rippled across the lobby. A customer whispered, Did her system just shut down? Another added, Something's happening. Mariah didn't raise her voice. You said I was pretending to be important, she said quietly. You were right about one thing, I don't need to pretend. The manager stepped closer, his voice low defensive. You can't just walk in here, and Mariah interrupted, still calm. And hold you accountable I can, and I will. Her phone vibrated once. Rachel again. Ma'am, the board chair just requested confirmation of your presence. Should I send visual? Mariah's answer came without hesitation. No. Let them hear the silence. It's enough. The guard took a small step back, now instinctively respectful, as if some invisible shift in the room demanded it. The teller, pale, whispered, Are we in trouble? Mariah turned her eyes toward her, gentle but firm. You're not in trouble, she said. You're in a lesson. Then she placed her phone face down on the counter, a single act of finality. The screen glowed faintly, still recording. Her reflection shimmered on the glass like a warning written in calm. Power, she said softly, doesn't need to raise its voice. It just needs witnesses. And now she had an entire lobby full of them. The lobby wasn't quiet anymore. It breathed tense, aware, alive. A murmur spread through the line like wind through glass reeds. People were no longer pretending not to watch. They were part of it now. The teenage boy with the phone stopped hiding his camera. A woman in a navy pantsuit whispered, she warned them, and near the entrance an older man straightened in his chair, eyes fixed on Mariah. I've seen this before, he said softly. Different decades, same arrogance. Mariah stood unmoving, her calmness, a kind of gravity pulling the room toward truth. The teller tried to type again, desperate to reclaim control. The keyboard froze completely. Red letters blinked across her monitor, Live Ethics Feed. Do not interfere. She looked up, her face drained of color. The manager cursed under his breath. Somebody get IT down here. But no one moved. Even the security guard's radio had gone silent. A flickering green light showing the line was busy. Corporate channels had taken priority. Mariah didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence said everything. Across the lobby, the junior banker, the same one who'd tried to vouch for her, rose from his desk. His voice cracked, but carried. Sir, I told you her name's in the system. The manager turned sharply. Sit down, Caleb, but Caleb didn't. His face flushed, hands trembling slightly, he looked at Mariah. They tried to delete your profile, he said quietly, but it reappeared in the master directory. Gasps rippled. Phones lifted higher. The room felt smaller now, not because of walls, but because of consequence. Mariah met his gaze with quiet gratitude. Thank you, she said. Then she turned to the teller who stood frozen behind her counter. Do you still believe I don't belong here? The teller opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The moment had shifted control, no longer lived on her side of the counter. A soft chime echoed from the overhead speakers. Then a computerized voice. Attention, corporate compliance is reviewing all current interactions. Please remain where you are. The manager's jaw dropped. What the hell is this? Mariah answered without looking at him. Accountability. The boy with the camera whispered, This is unreal. The woman beside him shook her head. No, she said, this is overdue. And somewhere in the corner, an older woman, elegant, deliberate, finally spoke. I worked in this bank 30 years. Nothing ever changed. She looked at Mariah. Maybe now it will. Mariah nodded once the weight of generations passing through her eyes. Change doesn't start in boardrooms, she said. It starts when people stop pretending not to see. The security guard stepped back, lowering his posture almost in apology. For the first time, it wasn't fear filling the room, it was clarity. Cameras rolled quietly. Words whispered became confessions. And through it all, Mariah remained still, the calm center of a storm the bank had summoned itself. Outside, rain began tapping against the glass. Inside, truth was louder. By 9:06 a.m., the air inside Summit National felt electric, charged with something no protocol could mute. The crowd wasn't just watching anymore. They were deciding. The manager slammed his hand on the counter. "This ends now. Turn off those phones, no one moved." Someone near the doorway muttered, "You turn it off." A soft laugh followed, not cruel, just honest. Mariah didn't flinch. She stood with the patience of someone who'd seen men like him crumble under smaller truths. Her phone, still face down on the marble, vibrated once. Rachel's voice came through the speaker, calm, deliberate. "Ma'am, branch activity reports are streaming live. They're watching from headquarters." The teller's breathing grew uneven. She whispered to the manager, "Sir, my system won't log out. It's locked." He ignored her, leaning toward Mariah. "You can't hijack a corporate network. You'll be arrested for this." Mariah's eyes lifted slowly. "You think justice is a hijack. That's why you'll never lead." Her words hit harder than any accusation. The security guard hesitated again, torn between orders and conscience. "Mr. Hall," he said to the manager, "maybe we should wait for clarification." "Clarification," Hall barked. "She's trespassing." Mariah turned her gaze to him, calm but piercing. "In a bank I helped fund, the lobby went still. A few customers exchanged glances. The teenage boy whispered, 'Wait, she owns part of this place.' The rumor began to spread like static." Hall scoffed. "You don't expect us to believe that?" Mariah tilted her head. "Belief isn't required. Proof's already uploading." The overhead speakers chimed again. This time the automated voice sounded different, less mechanical, more human. "Notice executive-level audit confirmation received. Please comply with on-site verification." Hall froze. "That's not possible," he whispered. It's her doing." Mariah didn't answer. She simply straightened her calmness louder than any alarm. The teller backed away from her terminal. "Sir, it says, CEO present in branch." Hall turned eyes wide. "What? Look," she said, pointing to the red text glowing across every monitor. "CEO, auth level, Maria Ellis, active." The words filled the room like judgment. Hall tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. "This is some kind of stunt." Mariah spoke evenly, each word a verdict. "A stunt ends when people stop watching. A reckoning doesn't." He stepped back, sweating now, his authority unraveling with every second. The boy's camera caught it all, the trembling hands, the false pride leaking out of his voice. Caleb, the young banker, stood again. "Sir, you need to stop. She's the one who Hall spun on him." "You're fired," Mariah's voice cut through. "No, he's promoted." Every head turned. Rachel's voice echoed from the phone, crisp as glass. "Confirmed. Caleb Monroe, temporary acting branch supervisor. Effective immediately." Hall's mouth fell open. "You can't." Mariah finally looked at him, her expression steady, final. "You were right about one thing. This ends now." And the word ends landed like a gavel. The teller covered her face, trembling. The crowd watched in stunned silence, not horror, not pity, awe, because for the first time that morning they understood she hadn't raised her voice once. She didn't need to. The illusion of control was breaking piece by piece like glass under pressure. But ego dies slower than truth. Manager Hall wasn't ready to surrender. His voice trembled, but he forced it louder, clawing for authority that no longer belonged to him. "You think this little show makes you someone? You're just a woman waving fake credentials and scaring staff." The words fell heavy, bitter, echoing through the marble space. Mariah didn't answer. She simply turned her head slightly, studying him the way a surgeon studies an infection, calm, detached, certain of the outcome. Her silence unnerved him more than rage ever could. The teller, still pale, whispered, "Sir, maybe we should stop talking," Hall snapped. "Quiet, I've seen her type before. Entitled, angry, always playing the victim." The boy, filming, flinched. A woman near the back muttered, "He's still talking." Another replied, "He's still digging." Mariah's hand rested lightly on the counter. Her voice came out soft, almost kind. "Victim," she said. "No, not today." Hall smirked, mistaking composure for fear. "Then prove it. Let's see you do something." He reached across the counter, grabbed her wallet, and pulled it toward him. The leather slid against the marble with a sound that sliced through the air, disrespect made physical. The room gasped. Even the guard stepped back. "Sir, stay out of it," Hall barked. "We'll see what this lady's hiding." He opened the wallet, his fingers fumbling with the ID, still convinced he could win this by humiliation. Mariah didn't move. Her expression didn't shift an inch. "You really shouldn't have touched that," she said quietly. But Hall wasn't listening. He held the ID high, waving it for the crowd. Fake name, fake power. "You're nothing but a liar trying to." He stopped. The screen behind him, the one every teller used, flickered. Then lines of text began to scroll across it in cold white font. Confidential CEO Maria Ellis. Executive merger authorization, $7,000,000,000,000. Pending transfer. Gasps spread like a chain reaction. Someone whispered, "Oh my God, it's real." The teller stepped back so fast she hit the printer behind her. Hall's voice cracked. That's not possible." Mariah finally stepped forward, closing the distance between them. Her heels echoed against the marble like a countdown. "Possible," she said, "isn't something you get to define." Hall still clutched her ID, but his hand was shaking now. Mariah's gaze never broke. "Put it down." He hesitated. "You don't give me orders. I already did." Her voice carried no volume, yet it filled the entire lobby. And something in that tone, deliberate, unflinching, made him obey. The wallet dropped onto the counter with a muted thud. No one moved. No one spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the screens as every terminal in the room updated simultaneously. Audit lock engaged. Branch control suspended. Hall's eyes darted wildly. "What is this?" Mariah answered with calm precision. The end of pretending. She reached for her wallet, slipped it back into her bag, and straightened. "You wanted to see proof. Now you're living inside it." The crowd had stopped whispering. They weren't witnesses anymore, they were believers. And for the first time, even Hall seemed to understand that whatever came next wouldn't be loud, it would be final. The marble floor reflected every flicker of the monitors as if even the ground understood what was coming. The light wasn't warm anymore, it was surgical, cold, precise. Mariah Ellis didn't move for a long second. She let the silence settle heavy and deserved. Every person in that lobby had felt the shift the moment arrogance became evidence. Then she spoke, voice low and level like a verdict being written in real time. "Rachel," she said into her phone, "activate internal audit. Lock financial access across this branch." A pause. Then Rachel's voice, clear, obedient, exact. "Audit engaged. Confirmed all branch accounts frozen pending review." The teller gasped. "Frozen? But that'll..." Mariah looked at her gently. "That'll stop more mistakes." Hall stumbled backward, his face pale disbelief, clawing at the corners of his pride. "You can't. You don't have the authority." Mariah's eyes cut to him. "Don't finish that sentence." The tone wasn't raised yet, it commanded the room. Even the air seemed to pause, listening. Across the counter, the screens changed again. Employee credentials temporarily revoked. A collective gasp rippled through the staff. Hall slammed his palm on the desk. "This is insanity. I'll call corporate myself." But his phone buzzed red, access denied. He turned slowly toward Mariah, voice breaking. "Who are you?" She held his gaze, steady, unhurried, merciless in its calm. "You already said it. You just didn't believe it." The teenage boy filming whispered, "She's the CEO. She really is." The whisper spread like wildfire, one phone then another. Screens lit up everywhere, faces tilted down in stunned recognition. Caleb, the young banker, swallowed hard. "Ma'am," he said softly, "do you want me to alert head office?" Mariah nodded. "No, they're already watching." Hall looked around wildly as if the walls themselves had betrayed him. "Why are you doing this?" he shouted. Mariah's answer was simple. "Because you thought decency was optional." The teller was crying now, quiet, ashamed. "I didn't mean," Mariah interrupted gently. "Intent doesn't heal impact." She turned toward the customers still frozen near the line. "No one here will be harmed. But no one leaves until the record is complete." Phones captured every frame, her composure, his unraveling, the quiet reversal of power that didn't need spectacle to feel enormous. Then from the speakers above, a soft corporate chime, attention executive oversight, engaged. Branch leadership suspended pending directive. Hall staggered back a step. His own employees now looked at Mariah for instruction. She glanced toward the security guard who stood at respectful attention. "Please escort Mr. Hall to the conference room," she said evenly. "We'll finish this there." The guard hesitated. "Yes, ma'am." Hall tried one last defiance. "You can't walk in here and run this branch like it's yours." Mariah's gaze never faltered. "I didn't walk in to run it," she said. "I walked in to remind you who built it." The guard took Hall by the arm gently but firmly. As he was led away, the entire lobby seemed to exhale. And standing in the center of it all, Mariah didn't smile. She simply breathed steady and sure, as if reclaiming air that had always been hers. The door to the conference room closed behind Hall with a hollow echo. For a moment, the lobby held its breath, as if the entire building waited for permission to exhale. Mariah Ellis turned toward the remaining staff. Her tone stayed steady, stripped of anger, rich with authority earned. not demanded. My name is Mariah Ellis. I'm the majority shareholder of Horizon Equity, the firm finalizing Summit National's acquisition. The teller's lips parted, words dying before they formed. Customers froze, trying to process what they'd just heard. The young banker Caleb blinked twice. You mean, yes, she said softly. This branch, this system, this culture, it's all part of the deal. She walked behind the counter, each step deliberate, unhurried, the kind of walk only ownership allows. The teller instinctively stepped aside. Mariah's hand brushed over the terminal, its screen now glowing in executive mode. Access CEO level granted. This is what you called fake, she said, glancing at her ID now displayed on every monitor. You threw it away, but what you really tossed was your chance to be better. The silence in the lobby wasn't fear anymore, it was recognition. Someone whispered, "She owns them." Another murmured, "No, she is them." Mariah faced the crowd. You wanted to see proof, she said. Here it is. On cue, Rachel's voice came through the phone speaker, audit complete. Corporate confirms your authority, Miss Ellis. Do you wish to proceed with action? Mariah looked at the teller, trembling eyes, wet then at Caleb, who stood straight, calm now, certain of where respect belongs. Yes, she said finally. Proceed. Every light above the counter dimmed slightly as if bowing in acknowledgement. The system beeped once cold and final branch control transferred. CEO Mariah Ellis. And with that, every screen, every witness, every doubt aligned into one truth: she hadn't walked in asking for service. She'd come to decide who still deserved a place in her empire. The lobby that once felt like a place of rules now felt like judgment itself. Every monitor glowed in muted blue, quiet, absolute, undeniable. The teller stood frozen behind her counter, mascara running slightly, lips trembling. Caleb offered her a tissue. She didn't take it. Instead, she whispered, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know who you were. Mariah's reply was calm, almost compassionate. That's the point, she said. You shouldn't have to know who someone is to treat them with respect. Across the room, a customer exhaled softly. Another nodded in silence. What had started as humiliation had become a sermon, quiet, unplanned, necessary. The conference room door opened. The security guard returned alone, face pale. Mr. Hall's access is revoked, he said. Corporate confirmed immediate termination. He hesitated. They want you to take full control, ma'am. Mariah nodded once. Understood. Her expression didn't show triumph, only completion. Hall's voice suddenly erupted from inside the glass room, muffled but panicked. You can't just erase me. I built this branch. Mariah turned her head slightly toward the door. You built a lobby of fear, she said more to herself than to him. I'm building something that lasts. The boy who'd filmed the scene looked at her now, eyes wide, unsure whether to keep recording. Mariah caught his hesitation and gave a small nod. Keep it, she said. Truth doesn't need permission. The teller broke then, sobbing quietly, her voice cracking through the still air. Please, I'm sorry. I just thought. Mariah interrupted gently, not unkind. You thought I didn't belong. That's the part I can't fix for you. The weight of those words hung heavy, but not cruelly. It wasn't vengeance, it was a mirror. Caleb cleared his throat softly. Ma'am, headquarters is asking if you'd like to continue the acquisition today. Mariah's gaze lifted to the tall glass windows overlooking the street rain streaking down like punctuation marks. No, she said after a beat. They'll have to wait. Respect first. Numbers later. A few customers applauded quietly, not a cheer but a reverent acknowledgement. The sound filled the lobby like air returning after a long hold. Mariah walked toward the exit, slow, unhurried. Every step echoed not as retreat but closure. The guard held the door open for her, bowing slightly without realizing it. Before leaving, she turned once more to the staff. This isn't about firing anyone, she said softly. It's about what you choose to do when no one's watching. Then she added, just above a whisper, but everyone heard it. Today the whole world was. Outside cameras still glowed through the rain, reflections of justice caught mid-breath. Inside, no one spoke, not because they were silenced, but because they'd finally heard enough. The rain outside turned heavier, streaking down the tall glass like ink running from a signature. Inside, everything was motionless. The only sound came from the soft hum of machines surrendering their access one by one. Mariah Ellis paused near the entrance. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass, calm, upright, unshaken. Behind her, the teller and Caleb stood side by side, both still processing the aftermath of truth. The phone on the counter lit up again. Rachel's voice was steady, formal now. Audit complete, Miss Ellis. Do you wish to proceed with disciplinary action? Mariah didn't turn around. Yes, she said quietly. Record my final directive. Every monitor in the branch flickered, showing the company's crest, Horizon Equity Holdings. Then a corporate announcement scrolled in clean white text, branch leadership suspended. Staff retraining mandatory. Ethics review immediate. A collective exhale swept through the room, fear for some, relief for others. Mariah's tone was steady, exact. Effective immediately, all staff will undergo reorientation. Any employee who participated in or ignored discriminatory conduct will be reassigned pending investigation. She paused, letting each word find its place in the air. Caleb Monroe is promoted to interim branch director. He'll report directly to my office. Caleb's eyes widened. Ma'am, I'm not, Mariah interrupted softly. You saw what was wrong and spoke anyway. That's leadership. He lowered his head, overwhelmed. Thank you. Don't thank me, she said. Thank the truth for being louder than fear. The teller wiped her tears, barely able to stand. Will I lose my job? She whispered. Mariah finally turned to face her, her gaze neither harsh nor forgiving, only honest. That depends on what you do after this. Learn something that costs nothing before it costs everything. The woman nodded, broken but listening. A faint chime echoed from Mariah's phone. Rachel again. Corporate board has acknowledged the incident. Public relations team is requesting your statement. Mariah smiled faintly. Tell them no statement is needed. The footage speaks for itself. The guard near the door shifted, looking down respectfully. Customers remained still, not out of fear but reverence. It felt less like a corporate punishment and more like a courtroom rendered in silence. Mariah took one last look around. Freeze all promotional spending, she added. Redirect that budget to diversity training and local scholarships. Rachel confirmed. Already done. The rain outside softened as if the storm itself had finished listening. Mariah reached for her coat, her voice calm, final. They'll remember today, not because I raised my voice, but because I didn't have to. Then she turned toward the glass doors, the world outside, reflecting her power back at her, quiet, vast, undeniable. And when she stepped through the motion, sensors opened on their own, as if even the building understood who it was letting pass. Outside, the city was waking up. Rain light scattered across parked cars, glass towers, and the steady rhythm of morning traffic. Mariah Ellis walked down the marble steps without an umbrella. She didn't need one. The rain wasn't punishment, it was cleansing. Behind her, through the tinted windows of Summit National Bank, silhouettes still moved, staff huddled, customers whispering, the echo of what had just happened settling into memory. A chapter had closed. And not just for them. Rachel's voice came softly through Mariah's earpiece. Corporate's already issued the termination orders. The board stands with you, ma'am. Mariah exhaled slowly, watching her reflection ripple in a puddle. They don't stand with me, she said. They stand where they should have been all along. A black car waited by the curb. The driver stepped out, holding the door. But Mariah didn't enter right away. She looked back at the bank, the building she'd just reclaimed from arrogance disguised as order. You know, she murmured to herself, they'll rewrite this story tomorrow. Call it an overreaction. A misunderstanding. Rachel replied through the speaker, and what do we call it? Mariah's eyes stayed on the glass tower, its mirrored surface now catching the first break of sunlight through the clouds. Correction, she said. Just correction. She finally stepped into the car. The door closed with a soft, sealed click. The city outside blurred as the rain picked up again, streaking like memory across the window. For a brief second, Mariah closed her eyes, and in the quiet fragments of her past, surfaced being 19 and told to use the back entrance being 28, and mistaken for her own assistant being 34 and told to smile. More in board meetings. Every slight, every assumption, every you don't belong here. And now the silence after the storm. Her phone buzzed once. A message from the Horizon board, deal terminated. $7,000,000,000,000 retained for redirected investment. Mariah smiled faintly. Justice wasn't revenge, it was redirection. Outside the car window, the bank's digital sign flickered to a new display, where under new leadership. The camera in someone's hand, the teenage boy from earlier, was still rolling from across the street. He zoomed in on her car, pulling away, whispering to his phone's mic. She didn't shout. She didn't threaten. She just ended it. The clip would go viral by noon. And by evening, 1,000 women who'd been dismissed, ignored, or underestimated would watch it and whisper to themselves, maybe I don't have to shout either. Mariah's car stopped at a red light. She looked out at the city, eyes calm, voice low. I don't need to record what happened, she said quietly. I am the record. The light turned green. The car moved on. Behind her Summit National Bank stood still, an empire reminded that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply knows its name.